Most people in their 70s would never believe what starts happening inside their body the moment they turn 75. There is no pain, no warning, no obvious symptom. These changes slip in quietly like ghosts unseen and unstoppable. Yet, over the last 10 years, research has uncovered something so unsettling that aging experts around the world have been forced to face it. No matter how healthy you have lived, whether you exercise daily, ate clean, avoided sugar and stress, or took every supplement on the shelf, once you pass 75, your body begins the same 5 biological shifts. These are like hidden switches planted deep inside you decades ago, waiting for the right moment to flip. Your body does not sound an alarm when it happens. The switches turn on behind the scenes, slowly rewriting your health until one day you feel a change, and only then realize the process began long before. Most doctors never mention this because by the time seniors walk into the clinic, those shifts are already well advanced. Families miss the early clues because they are almost invisible, and seniors themselves shrug it off as normal aging. In reality, these 5 changes follow a clear, predictable pattern seen in thousands of scans and medical records from adults in the United States, Europe, and Asia. One neurologist-led study found that the second change starts harming the brain 3 to 4 years before a senior notices even the slightest symptom, which makes it the quietest and most dangerous of all. In this video, we are going to walk you through all 5 changes, and you will want to stay to the end because change number 1 is the master control that decides how fast your entire body ages. Full reference details are listed in the description. Before we begin, tell us in the comments how old you are and where you are watching from. We read and reply to every message. Now, let us start with change number 5, because what really happens at 75 is something most people never discover until it is far too late, but you are about to see it right now. Number 5, your sleep is quietly rebuilt from the inside out. By the time you reach 75, your brain stops following the old sleep rules. It is not just about going to bed earlier or waking up at dawn. The entire structure of your sleep cycles is remodeled. Studies from the Sleep Research Society show that deep sleep can drop by as much as 70% after this age, which means the phase that repairs tissues, supports immunity, and locks in memories becomes occasional instead of guaranteed every night. At the same time, natural melatonin production steadily declines, falling roughly 15% every year after 75. That is why you can feel exhausted, yet still find yourself wide awake at 3 in the morning, staring into the dark. Your internal clock, the circadian rhythm, also shifts forward by 2 to 3 hours. Suddenly, a 4 o'clock dinner feels normal, and you are ready for bed, while everyone else is just starting their evening. Scientists call this advanced sleep phase syndrome, and it happens because the suprachiasmatic nucleus, the brain's master clock, begins operating on a new timetable as light sensitivity and hormone patterns change. Sleep becomes more broken as well, with many 75-year-olds waking 15 to 20 times a night, even if they only remember a few of these awakenings. The easiest way to cope is to cooperate with these changes instead of resisting them. Sleep specialists often suggest honoring your new rhythm. Go to bed when your body signals tiredness, even if that is 7 in the evening, and use those early morning hours for quiet, meaningful activities instead of lying in bed frustrated. Turning your bedroom into a true sleep sanctuary matters more than ever. A cooler room, usually between 60 and 67 degrees Fahrenheit, helps because your ability to regulate temperature during sleep becomes less efficient, and you are more sensitive to heat. Light timing becomes a powerful tool. Getting bright light, ideally sunlight, within the first half hour after you wake helps anchor your new rhythm, while avoiding screens and strong lights after 6 in the evening supports what little melatonin your body still produces. Many older adults also do well with a split sleep pattern that mirrors how people slept before the industrial era. For example, 4 hours of sleep, 1 or 2 hours of gentle activity, such as reading or stretching, then another 3 to 4 hours of rest. The crucial shift is in expectations. 8 uninterrupted hours are no longer realistic for most people over 75. Trying to force that old model only raises stress, worsens fragmented sleep, and increases the risk of chronic insomnia, which affects up to 60% of seniors in this age group. Your sleep is changing, but different does not have to mean worse when you adjust your habits to match your body's new design. And while you are adapting to this new nighttime rhythm, something even more dramatic is already beginning to alter your body's internal thermostat. Before we reveal that, support the channel by liking this video and subscribing. You do not want to miss the next secret. Number 4. Your internal thermostat breaks down permanently. Around 75, your body's temperature control system does not just weaken, it fundamentally malfunctions. The hypothalamus, the tiny brain region that acts as your thermostat, loses roughly 20% of its temperature sensing neurons by this age, so your body can no longer read heat and cold accurately. That is why you can be shivering while everyone else feels fine, or feel wiped out on a mildly warm afternoon that never would have bothered you before. Your main cooling system, the sweat glands, also decline in both number and efficiency by up to 40%, making it much harder to release heat once you overheat. As a result, heat stroke hospitalizations jump by about 300% after age 75, according to CDC data. At the same time, your blood vessels lose their normal ability to tighten and relax in response to temperature, a process called vasomotor adaptation, so your body struggles to send blood to warm, cold hands and feet, or to move heat away from your core. The insulating fat layer just under the skin thins by around 30%, while your metabolic rate, the energy burning that creates internal heat, drops about 20%, leaving you with less protection against cold and less natural warmth overall. The most alarming part is that your warning systems fail quietly. Many people over 75 do not feel thirsty even when they are significantly dehydrated, and their bodies may not shiver effectively in the cold, removing two of the key alarms that once kept them safe. To live safely with this new reality, experts suggest keeping indoor temperatures in a narrow band, usually between 68 and 74 degrees all year, even if that feels slightly warm in winter and a bit cool in summer. Wearing layers becomes non-negotiable, so you can adjust quickly as your perception of temperature shifts through the day under the influence of blood pressure, changes, medications, and activity. Hydration turns into a deliberate habit rather than a response to thirst, with many seniors aiming for at least 48 ounces of water daily, and using reminders because the natural urge to drink is unreliable. Simple tools make a big difference. Thermometers in several rooms help you trust actual numbers instead of your confused internal signals, and programmable thermostats can automatically adjust the environment as the day progresses. Physical activity is still essential to support what remains of your thermoregulation, but it must be done carefully. Most specialists recommend exercising indoors whenever outdoor temperatures fall below 40 or climb above 75 degrees to reduce the risk of overheating or dangerous chilling. Creating small temperature-stable zones becomes a powerful strategy. For example, keeping the bedroom perfectly climate-controlled, even if the rest of the house varies, and always carrying an extra layer and a water bottle when you go out. Your margin for error with heat and cold becomes very small after 75. Yet, as demanding as these temperature shifts are, they are only part of the story. Deeper, more dramatic changes are already unfolding inside your digestive system. Number 3. Your digestive system enters permanent slowdown mode. Around 75, your entire digestive tract shifts into what gastroenterologists call presbyesophagus and presbycolon, which is a technical way of saying everything moves in slow motion from that point on. The esophagus, the tube carrying food from your mouth to your stomach, can lose up to 50% of its muscle coordination, so swallowing becomes something you have to think about. That stubborn sensation of food sticking is your esophageal muscles failing to fire in proper sequence. Saliva production falls by roughly 40% after 75, which matters because saliva carries enzymes that begin digestion before food even reaches your stomach. At the same time, your stomach makes about 30% less acid. That might sound like a blessing if you have ever battled heartburn, but stomach acid is critical for breaking down protein, absorbing vitamin B12, iron, and calcium, and killing harmful bacteria that arrive with food. Deeper in the system, the small intestine faces its own crisis. The tiny finger-like villi that absorb nutrients can shrink by up to 25%, creating a universal level of malabsorption in older adults. The pancreas, which releases enzymes to digest fats, proteins, and carbohydrates, may cut its enzyme output by around 40%. Suddenly, meals that once sat comfortably now leave you bloated, gassy, or cramping. The large intestine is where the slowdown becomes impossible to ignore. Transit time can stretch from a normal 30 to 40 hours to more than 100 hours in many people over 75. Which is why chronic constipation affects around 60% of this age group. Even the liver, one of the body's most resilient organs, loses about 30% of its mass and blood flow by this age, so it processes medications and nutrients more slowly. This is a major reason doctors often lower or adjust drug dosages for older patients. To cooperate with this permanent slowdown, specialists recommend smaller, more frequent meals. Eating every 3 to 4 hours and keeping each meal in the 400 to 500 calorie range helps your weakened system manage the workload. Chewing becomes a frontline strategy. Aiming for 30 chews per bite compensates for reduced saliva and makes up for weaker chemical digestion by breaking food down mechanically. Digestive enzyme supplements taken with meals can help replace what the pancreas no longer produces in sufficient amounts, and many people do well with broad-spectrum enzymes taken about 15 minutes before eating. Probiotic foods shift from nice to have to non-negotiable. Daily servings of fermented foods like yogurt, kefir sauerkraut, and kimchi help maintain bacteria diversity in a gut environment that no longer lets good microbes settle in easily. Fiber strategy must also change. You still need fiber for regular bowel movements, but too much or the wrong kind can overwhelm a sluggish gut. That is why experts favor gradually increasing soluble fiber from foods such as oatmeal, bananas, and sweet potatoes, while going easier on large amounts of raw vegetables that a weakened system struggles to handle. And while your digestive system is learning this new slow gear, an even more serious transformation is quietly unfolding in your sense of balance. Number 2, your balance system undergoes irreversible deterioration. From about 75 onward, 3 separate balance systems begin failing at the same time. Researchers sometimes call this a triple threat to stability because without deliberate training, falls become less a question of if and more a question of when. The vestibular system in your inner ear, which uses tiny crystals and fluid-filled canals to detect head movement and position, loses around 40% of its sensory cells by this age. Your brain starts receiving delayed or conflicting information about where you are in space. At the same time, proprioceptors in your muscles and joints, the sensors that let you know where your arms and legs are without looking, can lose up to 50% of their sensitivity. That is why you may suddenly misjudge a step or clip furniture you used to avoid easily. Vision's role in balance also shrinks. Contrast sensitivity can fall by about 60%, and depth perception by 40%, making it harder to see edges, judge distance, and notice obstacles, especially in dim light. The real collapse happens in the brain's control center where all these signals are combined. Processing speed for balance information can slow by as much as 70%. Even when your sensors detect danger, your brain may not coordinate a corrective step fast enough. Your first line of defense, the ankle strategy that makes tiny automatic corrections, weakens sharply as the small ankle muscles lose about 40% of their strength, and flexibility can drop by 50%. Your body is forced to rely on larger, less precise hip movements and big recovery steps that are easier to mistime. Psychology adds another layer. After 75, fear of falling alone can raise fall risk by roughly 30%, because anxiety stiffens your muscles and disrupts the smooth, automatic movements good balance depends on. Blood pressure regulation also joins the problem. Orthostatic hypotension, that wave of dizziness when you stand up, affects about 30% of people in this age group and creates brief but dangerous moments whenever you change position. The only way to push back is to treat balance training like daily hygiene. Exercises that challenge all three systems are essential. Standing on one leg while turning your head stimulates the vestibular system. Standing still with eyes closed forces proprioception to work harder. Reaching and stepping tasks train visual spatial awareness. Dual task training is especially powerful, such as doing balance drills while counting backward or naming animals, because it mimics real life where you must stay steady while thinking and talking. Tai Chi has emerged as one of the best tools for older adults. Its slow, controlled weight shifts focused attention, and group practice can cut fall risk by up to 45% in people over 75. Alongside this, the environment must be upgraded. Loose rugs should go. Grab bars belong not only in bathrooms, but along hallways. Lighting needs to be brighter on stairs, and between rooms and walkways should be kept clear. Footwear becomes medical equipment rather than decoration. Shoes should have firm, non-slip soles, low heels no higher than 1 inch, and secure fastening, with many experts advising supportive shoes indoors as well. Timing matters too. Balance is usually best in late morning, after the body has been moving for a while, but before fatigue sets in, so scheduling more demanding tasks in that window can reduce risk. And all of this is preparing you for the most powerful shift of all the change that quietly influences every other system in your body. Number 1, your muscle mass enters catastrophic decline. At around 75, the body activates what researchers describe as sarcopenia overdrive, a rapid loss of muscle that accelerates far beyond normal aging. Muscle mass begins dropping at roughly 3 to 5% each year, meaning that by 80, as much as a quarter of your remaining muscle may be gone. And this is not about appearance. This is about the tissue that determines whether you can stand up from a chair, climb a flight of stairs, or continue living independently. Scientists at the National Institute on Aging found that after 75, the body actually begins breaking down its own muscle for energy, even when you are eating enough food. A major culprit is anabolic resistance. The muscles become far less responsive to protein and exercise. Satellite cells, the stem cells responsible for muscle repair, decline by about 70%. So everyday wear and tear no longer rebuilds properly. Those losses become permanent, accumulating silently. Fast twitch type 2, fibers responsible for strength and quick reactions, vanish twice as fast as type 1 fibers. That is why springing up from low chairs, catching yourself during a stumble, or even opening tight jars becomes harder. On top of that, motor units, the nerve connections that activate muscle fibers, die off quickly after 75. When a motor unit disappears, dozens of muscle fibers lose function forever, and the body does not replace them. Hormonal collapse makes everything worse. Testosterone in men plummets. Growth hormone production drops around 80%. IGF-1, critical for muscle building, falls so low that muscles barely receive a growth signal, even during exercise. Inflammatory markers such as interleukin-6 and tumor necrosis factor can rise up to 300%, creating a catabolic environment where muscle is broken down faster than it can be built. Inside each muscle cell, mitochondria decline dramatically. Their numbers fall by about half, and their efficiency by another 30%, leaving muscles with roughly 65% less usable energy. Protein synthesis slows by up to 60%, meaning older adults need much more protein than younger people simply to maintain muscle. Research suggests people over 75 require at least 1.5 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight daily, nearly double the recommendation for younger adults. Periods of inactivity become devastating. 10 days of bed rest can cause as much muscle loss as 2 years of normal aging, and because of anabolic resistance, regaining that lost strength becomes extremely difficult. To counter this downward spiral, protein must be evenly distributed throughout the day. Studies show that consuming 25 to 30 grams of high-quality protein at each meal is necessary to trigger muscle building. leucine becomes especially important. It is the amino acid that flips the muscle growth switch, and older adults need roughly 3 grams per meal to overcome anabolic resistance. Vitamin D also plays a major role. Deficiency is extremely common after 75 and directly contributes to muscle weakness. Research shows that correcting low vitamin D levels can improve muscle performance by up to 20%. Exercise timing and recovery must change as well. Morning workouts often produce better results because cortisol is naturally higher and anabolic resistance is slightly lower. Recovery between sessions needs to be extended to at least 72 hours. For the same muscle group, since reduced satellite cells and slower protein synthesis demand more time for repair. This is the biological shift that shapes the rest, because once muscle mass disappears, every other system in the body feels the impact. Maintaining muscle after 75 means fueling yourself the way an athlete would, even if you do not feel like one. That means getting protein into your system soon after waking when your muscles have gone all night without nourishment. Having a protein-rich snack before bed to limit nighttime muscle breakdown, and making sure you never go longer than 4 hours during the day without some source of protein. Realizing that this muscle loss happens to everyone at this age can lift a huge emotional weight. It is not a sign of laziness or weakness, but a built-in biological program that switches on once you reach 75. The 5 changes we have covered are not maybes or long-shot risks. They are guaranteed shifts that come for every person who lives long enough. The difference is that now you know about them. That knowledge turns them from frightening unknowns into challenges you can prepare for and push back against. If this video helped you see what is really going on after 75, tap the subscribe button so you will not miss our upcoming video on the exact exercises that can slow each of these changes by as much as 40%. Hit the notification bell so you are alerted as soon as it is released. Your future self will be grateful you started now. Thank you for watching, and remember, aging is unavoidable, but suffering your way through it does not have to be.